Governor Ron DeSantis officially launching his 2024 presidential campaign on Wednesday, kickstarting it with a glitch-filled audio-only live discussion with Twitter CEO Elon Musk. Now, nowhere in DeSantis' presidential campaign announcement or on his Fox News interview did he mention his opponent, Donald Trump, the former president, though has been relentlessly going after DeSantis. And all DeSantis has been suggesting, and he's been doing more of that now, is that he's more conservative than Donald Trump. Is that a strategy? Let's bring in our roundtable of guests. Inez Stepman, senior policy analyst at the Conservative Independent Women's Forum and host of the High Noon podcast, also a senior contributor to The Federalist. Frank Morano, the host of The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC Radio. And Jim McGreevey, former Democratic governor of New Jersey and now executive director of the New Jersey Reentry Corporation. Thank you all for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, so Inez, what do you make of this strategy by Ron DeSantis to avoid hitting too hard at Trump, and when he does, it's sort of softly from the right?
Well, I think those two separate. Let's separate the two parts of that question, right? Going up against Trump is a bit like going up the WWE wrestle match, right? Nobody has been able to do it, right, coming directly at him. I don't know what Ron DeSantis' plan is for that. He's definitely the nickname champ. Trump here is the nickname champ. So that aside, I think that's a very difficult problem for anyone intending to run against Trump. I think this primary will be good for the right in this country if it's a competition as to which one of these two men, who they think are the only two to have a shot, is more conservative, is going to deliver for conservative priorities. That will be a good primary for the Republican Party and for the right. If, on the other hand, it's a primary where where they're hitting each other from the left, I think that's actually going to take us backwards in terms of the influence that the Republican base actually has over the Republican Party and an establishment of a party who has not listened to them much.
But they're definitely not going to go at each other from the left. I mean, it's going to be...
It's already happening.
Who's going at who from the left?
Well, Trump is hammering DeSantis on his support for the fair tax. He's hammering on him on entitlement reform and wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare. So I think, and he's going to be in a position where he has to defend both keeping Fauci and implementing Operation Warp Speed to get the vaccine. So I think and Trump's on the side of Disney, criticizing DeSantis for how idiotic this war with Disney is.
There was a great article, Dan, in the New York Times. Leonard wrote about the rise of economic populism in the Republican Party, but social conservatism. And it was interesting to go to Inez and Frank's point, is you see that happening. But my sense is that DeSantis would be so much better if we were talking about generational change. If we were exciting that Trump is of previous generation, he's proposing a new generation of leadership, and I don't see that happening. And so,
it just doesn't seem to me there's a spot for DeSantis from the right to say that suddenly he's going to somehow win the GOP primary. He's going to get enough people to leave Donald Trump because Donald Trump isn't conservative enough.
I think he's just going to say, his best pitch will be, I'm actually going to concretely deliver on a lot of the things that Trump promised. I'm going to finish the wall. I'm actually going to go after woke capital. And that's what I was thinking about, by the way, when I was talking about hitting people from the left. I think if this race causes the Republican Party discussion to go backwards into 2012 and talk about the Disney bringing jobs, as though there's no cultural component to that discussion whatsoever, as though that corporation hadn't leaned heavily on the Republican Party to basically go against the will of its voters when it comes to cultural issues. If that whole conversation gets booted back to 2012 because Trump and DeSantis don't like each other, I think that would be very bad for the right.
I think DeSantis, electorally, his best argument is electability and a record that he can point to with some success in Florida. But I think what everyone is talking about this week is nothing that DeSantis said in terms of messaging. It's how botched his rollout.
See, I don't think that matters. I got to tell you, the whole botched roll, that's going to be gone by next week.
Well, it matters. That's what nobody's talking about.
I got it. But
the professionals took note.
There was so much focus. To me, as an inside the media bubble thing. Oh, there were tech problems. Who cares about that?
Well, no, but here's what we're not talking about. When Trump announced, we were talking about build a wall, make Mexico pay for that wall. We were talking about bad hombres coming over here and doing their thing. Nobody can tell you anything DeSantis said in his announcement.
Well, let me thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.